My sister Alice predicted her college entrance exam score would be 680, but her actual score was only 380. I scolded her for lying and deceiving people, but she claimed that the invigilator had swapped her exam papers. In my past life, I tried to convince my parents not to believe my sister's lies, only to be mocked for being jealous of a genius. This time, I pretended to praise her, but secretly posted her practice test papers online. Netizens scoffed, asking, "What's so hard about this exam? The answer is clearly Z. So why did she write 2? She's so foolish she can't even copy correctly." I was reborn on the very day my sister finished her college entrance exams. The moment I opened my eyes, I saw Alice, my sister, holding an answer sheet in her hand, joyfully announcing, "Mom, Dad, I'm done with my exams. I estimate my score will be 680. This news left my parents stunned for a moment. After a pause, my dad slapped his thigh, laughing heartily. "It wasn't for nothing raising such a daughter. You've truly brought honor to your father." My mom was even moved to tears, hugging Alice tightly and repeatedly praising, "You're truly 100 times smarter than your sister." The entire house was filled with joy, except for me, sitting in the corner. For a moment, I couldn't accept the fact that I had been reborn. My head spun. I looked at my sister and saw her curl her lips into a smile. "Clara, even though you always argue with me, this time I got such a high score. You should at least smile, right? Or are you just jealous of me again?" I snapped back to reality, lowering my head to look at the scratch paper in Alice's hand. Literature 128, English 134, Math 140, combined subjects 278. Indeed, these were excellent scores, if they weren't fabricated. At this moment, I finally believed that I had truly been reborn, because these numbers were exactly the same as the scores Alice had made up in my previous life. Inside, I smirked, but on my face I feigned astonishment. "I clearly remember you usually only scored a little over 500. How did you get so high this time?" Alice's smile stiffened for a moment, but she quickly puffed out her chest and replied, "I was lucky and performed exceptionally well. You also took the college entrance exam, so you must know what performing exceptionally means, right?" "Yes, I know, but who performs exceptionally by a whole 100 points? Moreover, your usual scores were already inflated to the sky." In my memories of the past life, Alice only scored 380 points. I blamed her for lying, but she stubbornly insisted that the invigilator had swapped her exam papers. During the exam, I felt strange. The invigilator's eyes looked at me very strangely. Someone powerful must have taken a liking to my scores and secretly manipulated them to ruin my future. My parents believed her, even going so far as to make a scene at the Education Bureau. The invigilator my sister accused was pregnant at the time, but because of this incident, she worried day and night, couldn't eat or sleep, and eventually suffered a miscarriage. My parents showed no remorse, even gloating, saying, "That's karma, serves her right. Anyone who dares to destroy my daughter's future deserves to have their lineage cut off." But wasn't it Alice herself and my parents who truly ruined Alice's future? Clearly, Alice and I were both their biological daughters, but from childhood, they only cherished their youngest daughter, holding her in the palm of their hand. As for me, the elder daughter, I only received coldness and sarcasm. At this moment, my mom said with a tone full of sarcasm, "Clara, you're not as clever as your sister. It's just how you were born. We can't blame you. But today is a happy day. Don't say such unpleasant things. Or do you think we wouldn't dare to scold you?" The contempt in my mother's voice pained me, but I didn't retort, because today truly was a happy day. I had a chance to start over. In this life, I would definitely expose my sister's lies. I immediately feigned joy. How could I not be happy? Who wouldn't want a sister as brilliant as mine? I'm so thrilled. Since Alice got such a high score, I'm going to buy her a new phone as a gift. My sister's eyes lit up. My parents were ordinary workers, and our family's financial situation was just enough to get by. I started working part-time to support myself during college. After graduating 2 years ago, I even bore most of the household expenses. Children neglected by their parents often cling to unrealistic hopes, thinking that by spending a lot of money on their parents, they can earn their love. How foolish! I no longer wanted to be a money tree for them. I only dropped a hint, and Alice immediately pulled Mom's arm, whining, "I want a new computer and all those dresses I like. Let's buy a few more. I got 680 points, Mom." My mom's face was full of doting affection, nodding repeatedly. "Yes, yes, my good daughter. but she also felt the pinch of the money, her eyes unconsciously glancing towards me. I immediately understood and patted my chest to reassure her. Mom, just buy it, don't worry about it. It's just that unfortunately, the company owes me a month's salary, so my card is empty right now. But I'll be getting my quarterly bonus soon, probably around 60 to 70 million. You can advance the money, and I'll pay you back later. This made even my dad, who is usually quiet, burst out laughing. He rubbed his hands and suggested, I know a newly opened steamed seafood restaurant that's having a promotion. How about we go try it? This suggestion was immediately embraced by my sister, but Mom frowned. Clara, your sister is allergic. My dad hesitated for a moment. I thought he would suggest a different restaurant, but unexpectedly he said, don't let her spoil our fun. Let's just go eat. She can stay home. There's leftover rice in the fridge. The three of them happily went out to eat and shop, leaving me alone in the empty house. This feeling was so familiar because I had experienced it countless times. From birth, I was sent back to the countryside, a neglected child. At first, I lived with my grandmother, and after she passed away, I moved in with my aunt. My parents settled elsewhere and only remembered they had an elder daughter after 13 years. When I was finally brought back, my sister was 8 years old. She was beautiful and sweet-talking, which made me, an ordinary girl, even less attractive. Even our dog at home could order me around. To be accepted by the family, I took on all the housework from a young age, obeying everyone without question, just hoping that my parents would show a little kindness once every 10 days or half a month, so I could feel a bit of family warmth. I felt sorry for that naive, clumsy child. That was my past self. She thought sincerity could be exchanged for sincerity, but how could people who only clung to me to drain me be called family? Now I had a chance to live again. Just exposing Alice's lies wasn't enough. I wanted to leave this family, and I had to leave with dignity without looking back. I thought for a moment, then called my boss. Ms. Dow, that overseas position you mentioned before? I've thought about it, and I agree. It's 2 months until departure, right? The company was expanding its business in Europe and needed pioneers. The work was tough, but the pay was good. In my previous life, I couldn't bear to leave my parents, so I turned down this opportunity. At that time, I still held out hope for them, but not anymore. I couldn't choose my blood relations, but I could choose to leave without hesitation. Ms. Dow happily relayed the details. That's right, the first team is scheduled to depart at the end of August. Is the timing not an issue? The end of August, that's 2 more months, enough time for me to see the outcome of this play. I only have one request, can you keep it a secret? I don't want my parents to know, I'm afraid they'll stop me. Ms. Dow thought for a moment, then immediately understood my plight. Clara, I know your decision isn't easy. Don't worry, I'll help you keep it a secret. In my previous life, I lived a terrifyingly frugal existence. In summer, I couldn't even bring myself to buy a watermelon to cool down. In winter, I continued to use gloves with holes in them. Ms. Dow, my direct supervisor, was a warm-hearted person. She often advised me, Clara, you're a girl in your 20s, you should dress better, eat better. Don't suffer like this forever, and don't give all your salary to your parents. You should save some money for yourself. At that time, I didn't understand her intentions. I even thought she had cut ties with her own blood-sucking family, which was why she had a prejudice against other people's parents. How narrow-minded I had thought. But now, I understood all of her heartfelt words. I sincerely thanked Ms. Dow. Then I slowly walked into Alice's room. My sister's bedroom was the brightest in the house. By the window, there was a study desk piled with books, notebooks, and exam papers. In my previous life, not long after the college entrance exam, Alice had packed all her books and sold them. At the time, we all thought it was normal, but later, when I suspected her of cheating and lying, I had no evidence. Back then, she angrily retorted, I'm always in the top 100 in school. Even if the second mock exam wasn't good, I still scored over 500 in the first one. What's wrong with me performing exceptionally well? Clara, are you even my sister? Why do you always think bad things about me? As a result, I was branded as being jealous of her. But this time, I would prepare and act first. I took out my phone and photographed every page of the exam papers, score reports, and notebooks on Alice's desk. I even deliberately left a few exam papers with obvious flaws. After that, I created a new account on a social media platform, naming it, I Have a Genius Sister. My first post was a photo of Alice's study desk, with the caption, What does the study desk of a student who scored 680 points look like? Since it was a new account, there weren't many views, but within half an hour there were over a dozen comments. Some asked, "The college entrance exam just ended, right? How does your sister already know her score?" Others asked for study tips. Some commented, "This messy desk doesn't look like someone who studies well." This was like poking a hornet's nest, and a flurry of people responded, "How many top students have you met to judge like that?" This is what they call orderly chaos. Overall, this post didn't cause a huge stir, but I wasn't in a hurry. This was just the first post. I would slowly expose everything. In my previous life, from discovering my sister's lie about her 680 score to her absurd accusations of swapped exam papers, it became increasingly preposterous. I tried to persuade my parents not to blindly follow her and cause trouble, but in return, they pointed fingers at me and cursed me terribly. Don't think that just because you went to some mediocre university, you have the right to lecture adults. Who do you think you are? Your sister is so brilliant, we'll rely on her to enjoy a comfortable life later. If my parents were looking forward to a comfortable life from their youngest daughter, then let them first face humiliation with her. After all, family is supposed to share joys and sorrows, isn't it? That evening, my parents went on a grand shopping spree, buying quite a few things for their beloved daughter. A large bag full of cosmetics and makeup, 3 or 4 designer outfits, and also new headphones, a new phone, and a new computer. The next morning, as soon as I woke up, my mom smiled brightly and handed me a handwritten list. "Clara, take this. When you get paid, transfer the money back to Mom." I took it and glanced through it. They had spent over $30,000 last night. What a splurge, I smiled. "Certainly, oh, I quite like this shirt, let me try it on." But my fingers hadn't even touched the clothes tag when my mom quickly moved the bag away. She seemed to realize her action was a bit stiff and forced a laugh. "It's your sister's, don't take it from her." "Clara, you're the elder sister. How can a sister fight over things with her younger sister?" In her eyes, even though I was paying for it, I wasn't entitled to even try on an item belonging to my sister. I had long understood my place in her heart. Today was just another confirmation. So I wasn't sad or angry, I just felt it wasn't worth arguing over. I picked up my bag and said, "I'm going to work," then turned and walked out. After leaving the house, I did 3 things. First, I photographed all the items my mom had bought yesterday, posting them on social media with the caption, "Gifts for my sister, who predicted a 680-point score on her college entrance exam. Total cost over $30,000. Am I the best sister in the world?" Second, I went to a flower shop near home and ordered a bouquet of fresh flowers, specifically to be sent to Alice's exam invigilator. In my previous life, because of Alice's foolishness, the teachers were falsely accused, and I always felt guilty. This time, I wouldn't give Alice a chance to make up excuses. As I passed a breakfast shop, I pretended to make a phone call. My sister predicted 680 points. In 10th and 11th grade, her grades were average, but in 12th grade, she suddenly excelled, her scores skyrocketing. She must have found an effective study method. As soon as I hung up, a woman about 50 years old sitting next to me leaned over, her eyes shining. "Little girl, do you remember me? I'm Mrs. Liu. My husband is your dad's colleague. Your sister is so smart, could she tutor my daughter?" I feigned ignorance, but inwardly I chuckled. Mrs. Liu was the wife of a senior executive at my dad's company. This family highly valued their children's education and often hired tutors. Discovering a hidden genius like Alice next to them, they certainly wouldn't want to miss out. While chewing on a cruller, I happily agreed. "What's so difficult about that? I'll tell my sister when I get home." My sister is a top student. With just a little guidance, your daughter's scores will definitely shoot up. My words made Mrs. Liu beam with joy. But Alice, of course, wouldn't agree. That evening, she came home and started sulking. "I just finished my exams, and now I have to teach other people. I'm not doing it, I don't want to do it." Or, "Are you afraid to do it?" Dad looked at his beloved daughter, wanting to say something but held back. Mom immediately defended her. "It's all your sister's big mouth. Letting people hear such things. If you don't want to go, then don't go. Why make her suffer like that?" Seeing that things were about to fall apart, I quickly interjected. "Alice, you're grown up now, you should think about Dad. If you just spend 2 or 3 hours a day tutoring, you can help Dad feel more at ease at work. It's really worth it, isn't it?" Hearing that, the wrinkles on my dad's face immediately smoothed out. He looked at me, agreeing with his elder daughter's opinion for the first time in his life. Clara is right. If it were someone else, my dad might have felt reluctant to let his youngest daughter tutor. After all, she hadn't even washed a single dish at home. But Mrs. Liu's family status was too special. Even though my dad was lazy and unsociable, he still harbored dreams of promotion and a raise. If he could trade a few hours of his youngest daughter's time for his own future, it was clearly a bargain. Hearing Dad agree, Alice looked up, glared at me, then turned her head away. If you want to curry favor with Dad and the boss, go tutor yourself. Why drag me into this? I smiled, completely unfazed. I also want to teach, but I'm not as good at exams as you, am I? How about this? I'll pay for your tutoring fee. I'll pay you $500 for each session, okay? My sister wavered. Although she was spoiled at home, her pocket money was always limited. Every time she went out, she had to ask my parents for money. Now there was an opportunity to earn extra pocket money. What could be more exciting? She rolled her eyes, thought for a moment, then said, "Okay, but you pay me first." I blushed, pulled out my phone, checked my account balance, and stammered. The company's finance department has been sick lately, so my salary for the whole month has been delayed. How about? I glanced at my dad, whose face was beaming. "Dad, could you advance me this amount?" "I'll pay you back as soon as I get my salary." My dad was still a bit hesitant, looking at me with suspicion. "Clara, your company has always paid salaries on time for years. Why are they owing you this time? You're not trying to trick Dad into giving you money for your sister's pocket money, then keeping it for yourself, are you?" Inside, I felt torn apart, but on the outside, I maintained a bright smile. "Dad, don't joke around. Haven't you seen how I've treated the family all these years? Every month I earn $15 million and give $14 million to the household. If I had money, wouldn't I spend it on my own family?" Finally, my dad's suspicion dissipated. He chuckled. "You're right. My elder daughter is truly understanding and filial." Understanding and filial, these 4 words had imprisoned me in my previous life, preventing me from soaring. But now, I wouldn't be so foolish anymore. Back in my room, I reopened social media. My second post had attracted significantly more attention. Some commented on the quality of the makeup items, and others admired me for being a wonderful sister. Only one comment was sharp. "Can you stop showing off? Where are the scores? It's always 680, 680. If I got 680, I'd hire my own bodyguard. Everyone come here and praise me." This comment provoked a flurry of attacks. "If you're sick, go to the hospital. A sister loving her sister. If you don't like such a good thing, then don't watch." A sister loving her sister. It truly was a good thing. It was just a pity that this happiness would never be mine. In my previous life, my sister's claim about swapped exam papers escalated to the point of involving the Education Bureau. I tried to stop my parents, urging them to be rational. "Can you two use your brains for a moment? There are millions of students across the country. Why is only her exam paper problematic? If someone truly had such power, they would have sent their child abroad to study long ago. Why would they let her take the college entrance exam?" But my composure only earned me their furious curses. During the argument, I accidentally fell down the stairs, tumbling over a dozen steps, my head hitting the ground hard, blood gushing out. I thought it was just a superficial injury, bandaged it at the hospital, but in reality, I had an intracranial hemorrhage, and a blood clot was pressing on my respiratory center. That night, as I lay in bed, struggling to breathe to the point of near suffocation, I heard my parents in the next room comforting their youngest daughter. "Don't be afraid, darling. Mom and Dad will get justice for you." I must have let out a pained moan. It did make my mom glance into the room, but she only took a quick look and turned away without stopping. I was only a few steps away from them, but not one of the 3 of them thought to check on my condition. They didn't consider me family, so why should I consider them family? I wiped my tears, resolutely posting the 3rd entry on social media. This time, the photo was of Alice's notebook with the caption, "See how a child who scores 680 points takes notes." The notes in the notebook were neat and tidy, using 5 to 6 different colored pens to highlight. Looking at it, it was as beautiful as an art journal. But I knew where the problem lay, and netizens quickly noticed the anomaly. This post received over 100 comments in just half an hour. "Isn't this just copying reference materials verbatim into the notebook, feeling good about yourself?" Top students' notes are always simple, concise, only noting key points. Looking back at the previous post, I almost died laughing. She says her sister predicted 680 points, but she even has to copy the phonetic alphabet and write down word form changes. I don't believe she scored 680. Some also retorted, Everyone has their own study method, you can't generalize. These notes look like a work of art, I really like them. I didn't reply to any more comments because the netizens were already voicing my suspicions for me. In my previous life, when I saw Alice taking notes like that, I once advised her, "Alice, you don't need to keep changing pens like that when you take notes. It just wastes time. What's the point of making it look pretty if it's all for naught?" She immediately argued back, "You only got into an ordinary university. What right do you have to lecture me?" I was speechless. After all, Alice always achieved good grades in school exams. If she performed normally, she would probably only get over 211 points. At that time, I even blamed myself, wondering if I had interfered too much. But I never thought that her grades were never real. The next day, Alice actually went to tutor my dad's boss's child. I was more cautious and quickly befriended Mrs. Liu on WeChat. I cleverly sent a message. "Auntie, my sister is still young. Sometimes her words and actions might not be perfect. Please feel free to guide her. Our family always respects you greatly." After sending it, I didn't hear back from her for a long time. But that evening, Alice came home earlier than expected. She had initially said she would teach 4 sessions, but I saw the amount written in her notebook was 2,000. Alice's face was flushed, her forehead dotted with sweat. I didn't know if it was from the heat or guilt. She gritted out, "I'm not doing it anymore. I can't teach that child, she doesn't listen to me. I'm not going anymore." My mom, both affectionate and doting, immediately gave her a slice of watermelon. "If you don't go, then don't go. You can play at home. It's all Dad's and your sister's fault for forcing you to suffer. Dad's been a lowly employee at the company for 20 years, only now thinking of flattering the boss. How useless." Being mocked like that, my dad just bowed his head and drank his liquor, not saying a word. I also stayed silent, just checking my phone. On WeChat, Mrs. Liu had finally replied. "Thank you, Clara. It's just that I sat in and listened to Alice lecture for a while. When my child asked a question, Alice's answer didn't get to the point. Perhaps her study method isn't suitable for my child. Anyway, thank you for your trouble." Not suitable. This was certainly a polite way of putting it. I didn't believe Mrs. Liu didn't realize Alice's shallow knowledge. In my previous life, Alice had concocted such a big lie, even dragging my dad's boss's family into it. They had never directly interacted with Alice, only hearing my dad's account and believing she was truly an all-around excellent student. Out of sympathy, they used their social connections and even invited a few local newspapers to interview her. But this time, I had planted seeds of doubt. When the truth about the fake scores was exposed, they would surely think carefully. No matter how much Alice tried to cause trouble, she wouldn't be able to stir up a storm. I reopened social media and posted the 4th entry. This time, it was a photo of Alice's score report and exam papers. Her name and school were blurred out. The main highlights were the series of red check marks and an unbelievably high-scoring essay, accompanied by the caption, "How many points do students who predict 680 points usually get in exams?" I don't understand what you guys are doubting, but my sister is genuinely excellent in mock exams and periodic tests. She's always at the top. Thanks to my previous posts and the topic related to the college entrance exam, my followers had grown to several hundred. This post attracted a lot of comments. Why do I see signs of editing on this exam paper? For example, this D was changed to a B. Clearly, the last question's answer is Z, so why did she write 2? Others retorted, in a social studies essay with hundreds of words who wouldn't make a few edits. If it flowed perfectly without any edits, that would be suspicious. It looks like she just copied the answers. Author, are you sure your sister is a genius? Genius? I only see a copying genius. Let's wait and see your sister's actual score. I'm very curious. Not just the netizens, but I myself was waiting. Everything I had done so far was just to wait for the day the truth would be exposed. Finally, the time for checking scores arrived. That entire day, Alice was restless, like she was sitting on pins and needles. When the inquiry portal opened, she locked herself in her room, saying she wanted to check it herself before announcing the results. I smiled, watching her antics. Time passed minute by minute, but Alice's door remained locked. My parents had started to worry, discussing whether they should knock, when suddenly the door burst open. Alice rushed out, clutching her computer, her hair disheveled, her face pale. She trembled as she handed the computer to my parents. "Mom, Dad, my score is out." The screen displayed the score for only a second, but I still managed to clearly see the large text. "Alice, total score 680. My parents burst out laughing with joy. They hugged their youngest daughter, showering her with kisses and endless praise. As for me, sitting alone on the side, I also smiled. Alice had locked herself in to check her scores this time, and it took longer than in my previous life. I almost thought she had developed a conscience and wouldn't lie anymore, but I didn't expect her to continue choosing to live in a lie. I took out my phone and took a screenshot of Alice's score. She turned around, saw me, her face flushed, and immediately closed the computer. "What are you doing, Clara?" I feigned innocence. "Such good news, of course. I have to let everyone know. Let me post it on my social media. Mom and Dad should also inform all relatives and friends." Alice, feeling guilty, forced a smile. "We should be a bit humble. What if someone else didn't do well on their exam and gets jealous?" It seemed that even at this point, she was starting to be afraid. I thought she had forgotten what shame felt like. I chuckled faintly, retorting, "If you have the ability, what do you need to be afraid of people saying this and that?" Alice was speechless. My parents, however, were convinced by my words. Very quickly, the sound of them calling relatives and friends to share the good news echoed throughout the house. In my previous life, we were also deceived by Alice in this way. She was even bold enough to apply to the most prestigious universities, but when it was time to receive acceptance letters, nothing arrived. My parents were so anxious that they rushed to the Education Bureau to inquire. It was then that they discovered Alice had only scored 380 points. My dad immediately became furious. My daughter checked her scores for the first time. I saw with my own eyes she got 680. How could it drop by 300 points? You people are doing something shady. You need to give me an explanation. The staff only smiled faintly, appearing accustomed to such cases, gently reminding him, "When the candidate checked the scores, did you directly see your child operate the computer? If not, go home and ask your child clearly first." Standing next to him, I blushed at the insinuation. My dad was initially half believing, half doubting, but as soon as he got home and saw Alice crying, he believed her implicitly. To get justice for his youngest daughter, he quit his job, stopped eating, and constantly ran to the Education Bureau to cause a commotion. I was both helpless and anxious, but more than that, I felt jealous. Why did I never receive such unconditional trust from my parents? My sister only needed to tell a few lies to get everything. If it was just to make me feel injustice, then why did they even give birth to me? I thought I was calm enough, but at that moment, my heart felt squeezed by an invisible hand, suffocating me. I wiped my tears, retreated into my room, and posted the 5th entry on social media. I attached the screenshot of Alice's meticulously edited score with the caption, "Scores are out, 680, my sister is the best." The post quickly went viral. Many commented, "Thank you, Big Data, for helping them know the next developments." Even more praised my sister for being smart and me for being thoughtful, calling the story truly inspiring. But soon, skeptical opinions also appeared. Why do I feel like the scores don't seem continuous? Before long, my post attracted the attention of a Photoshop expert. This person dissected every detail in the photo, pointing out inconsistencies in each subject. "Author, can you stop putting on a show like this?" The comment section turned into a chaotic mess. One side believed the expert's keen eye, while the other mocked, "You guys just can't stand seeing a smart girl." Finally, someone made a suggestion. "Ask your sister to live stream taking a college entrance exam practice test. That would make everything clear." A high school teacher also joined the comments. "I teach 12th grade students. It's easy to spot someone who scored 680. Live streaming the exam is the clearest way." This comment received over 10,000 likes. Not just the netizens, but I myself wanted to see Alice take an exam. In my previous life, I couldn't witness the day her lie was exposed. In this life, I absolutely had to witness it. While I was still thinking about how to convince Alice to live stream, she rushed into my room with her phone, shouting, "Clara, what did you post online? My classmates recognized my notebook and are asking me about it now." Her voice was so loud that my parents immediately took notice. From childhood, whenever we argued, my parents never bothered to distinguish right from wrong and immediately took the side of their youngest daughter. This time was no different. My mom glared at me, annoyed. "Clara, if you don't know what to say, then don't say anything. What did you say again that upset your sister?" When I was little, I used to be heartbroken by mom's favoritism, but not anymore. I cleared my throat and calmly said, "Alice is just too humble, that's why netizens are doubting her scores. Mom, how about letting Alice live stream taking an exam? This can earn a lot of money. She could earn tens of millions in a day. Not only would she earn money, but it would also silence the world. How great would that be? My parents had recently become obsessed with watching live streams, so as soon as I mentioned it, my mom immediately understood. She licked her lips and exclaimed, "Alice can earn money by taking an exam? Then that's great." It took her a long time to utter a sentence. Much better than her sister. I couldn't help but curve my lips into a smile, both because my mom was so biased and because I had seen through everything too late. The year I was brought to the city, I couldn't keep up with the school's curriculum, and my scores were always below average. At that time, Alice always brought home perfect scores on her tests. I thought not getting high scores was the reason my sister was pampered more, so I gritted my teeth and studied hard. Eventually, I caught up with my classmates and improved my grades, but my parents' coldness towards me only increased. I couldn't understand why until one day I overheard Mom chatting with a neighbor. The neighbor advised, "Don't just buy dresses for Alice, you should also buy one for Clara. She studies hard and is a good child too." But my mom sighed. "No, I can't. If the teacher sees her as the top student in the class, Alice will be sad. I have to love Alice more." Throughout my formative years, I don't know how many times I asked myself if I had done something wrong. If not, why did I never receive fair love from my parents? I was immersed in self-doubt and an obsession with loss, living in constant struggle every day. But once I thought it through, everything became lighter. Who says blood relatives must necessarily be family? The idea of live streaming was eventually rejected by Alice. She claimed her health hadn't been good lately, her head was spinning, she felt nauseous and needed rest. After submitting her university applications, she locked herself in her room for several days straight, even having her meals brought to her. My parents loved her dearly and didn't forget to scold me. "It's all your fault for posting online, making people talk this and that, making your sister sad." I responded indifferently with a few words, even more eager for the day the truth would be exposed to see my parents' reaction. According to the timeline, my sister's application to P University, a prestigious school, should have resulted in an acceptance letter being sent in one of the first batches. In my previous life, when the acceptance letter didn't arrive for a long time, my parents couldn't hold back and went to the Education Bureau to inquire. It was then that they discovered Alice had only scored 380 points. After that, they made a huge fuss everywhere. But this time, I had prepared ample evidence beforehand, so that when Alice dared to bring up the ridiculous excuse about swapped exam papers again, I could expose her right then and there. As for myself, I had almost completed my work visa procedures. I just needed to pack my suitcase and I could leave at any time. A close colleague quietly asked, "Are you sure? If you go this time, it might be a year or two before you come back." I replied, "Come back for what? Aren't you homesick?" "No." Children who have no place to shelter, what home do they have to miss? I patiently waited for the day my parents would go to the Education Bureau to inquire about the P University acceptance letter. But that day, as soon as I got home from work, I saw the front door wide open, and the house was full of people coming and going. Someone turned around, saw me, and immediately called out loudly, "Clara is home. Come quickly and see your sister. Her acceptance letter has arrived." The tense nerve in my head snapped with a ding. I quickly walked to the middle of the crowd. A dazzling red color caught my eye, making my heart ache. The university name on the acceptance letter was not P University, which Alice had claimed to apply to, but a university in another province. Alice explained that after careful consideration, she found that this university had a top major in the country, even better than P University. But even so, with her 380 points, how could she have been accepted? Why was everything different from my previous life? My head was spinning, but at that moment, I met Alice's gaze. She was quietly observing everyone's expressions, her eyes reflecting an undeniable sense of relief. My heart tightened. Details I had previously overlooked now became clearer than ever. On the day the scores were checked, Alice locked herself in her room for much longer than in my previous life. When the scores came out, she didn't call friends to celebrate or go shopping for a final spree. Instead, she quietly stayed in her room doing something. And now, she even had an acceptance letter in her hand. These strange behaviors could only have one explanation. Alice had also been reborn. She was reborn on the day the scores were checked. I looked at the seal on the acceptance letter, and a strange feeling welled up inside me. It turned out that being reborn What Alice wanted to do was not to correct her mistakes, but to make her lies more perfect. It seemed she also realized that the story about swapped exam papers was too ridiculous, so she devised a new plan. She thought that as long as she had an acceptance letter, she could sleep soundly. How audacious. I calmed down and gently clapped my hands. Alice, you really make me look at you in a new light? Even with an acceptance letter, Alice was very cautious. She repeatedly declined my parents' offers to host a thank you party and politely refused relatives coming to congratulate her. I knew what she was afraid of. High schools wouldn't directly receive acceptance information from universities, but if it was P University, the prestigious school Alice had boasted about, the school would certainly take it extremely seriously, even thoroughly checking. Conversely, if it was just a relatively good university, teachers wouldn't expend so much effort. But I still found her thinking ridiculous. Every lie has its day of exposure. I wanted that to happen sooner. So I secretly persuaded my mom. Exams are a big deal, a once-in-a-lifetime event. You don't need to wear red flowers and parade through the streets, but you should at least host a banquet and invite guests, right? Alice doesn't like to show off, but she needs to change that personality. Does she want to end up like Dad, working his whole life without striving for anything and remaining unknown in old age? As soon as I mentioned my dad's shortcomings, my mom immediately flushed. She huffed, Clara, you're right. Your dad is indeed useless his whole life. Alice absolutely cannot be like that. We must organize a party and announce it to the world. Speaking of this, she abruptly stopped and turned to ask me, Clara, is your salary still delayed? Our family has been spending a lot lately. You need to urge your boss to pay you quickly. As the elder sister, you have a responsibility to this family. I smiled and comforted her. Soon. Yes, it's very soon. Recently, I had finished packing all my luggage, just waiting for the day my sister's lies would be exposed, and I would immediately grab my suitcase and leave. A few days later, my mom set the date for Alice's college entrance celebration party and quietly informed relatives and friends. At the same time, I opened social media and posted the 6th entry, with a secretly taken photo of Alice's acceptance letter. The caption read, "Congratulations to my sister on becoming a university student." The post, being about a major topic related to college entrance exams, was immediately recommended to other incoming freshmen. Almost instantly, someone noticed an anomaly. Author, do you know that this university just changed its principal? Why does this year's acceptance letter still bear last year's principal's signature? My followers from previous posts also commented one after another. I'm becoming more and more suspicious. Author, I've told you a million times, your sister's scores are definitely problematic. Why won't you believe it? Forging a university acceptance letter is illegal. Very soon after, I received a private message. Sister, I'm Alice's deskmate. I'm the one who recognized her notebook. There's something I want to tell you. The person hesitated for a long time, finally sending me a few message snippets. Actually, I've long noticed Alice's habit of cheating on school exams. The school supervision wasn't strict, so she always easily got away with it. But for strictly supervised exams, she often used illness as an excuse to avoid taking them. I once picked up one of her cheat sheets. At first, I intended to give it to the teacher, but she kept crying, saying she was afraid that not doing well would upset her mom, so she had no choice but to do it. I thought she would change, so I didn't report it. But I never expected her lies to become more and more serious. It turned out Alice always knew she was wrong and had even had someone sincerely try to help her change, but she remained unrepentant. But why? Alice was the most pampered child in the family, clearly seeing how cold my parents were to me. So why did she put on such an elaborate fake show to prove she was a genius? Regardless, these matters had nothing to do with me, and certainly nothing to do with my plan. After my mom booked the restaurant, I quietly gave a sum of money to a staff member. The person guaranteed, "Don't worry, if anyone asks, I'll take the blame for being negligent. It absolutely won't involve you." Everything was almost ready. Alice's college entrance party was held on schedule. She only learned about the party 2 hours beforehand, but nothing could be changed. My mom hurriedly coaxed her. "Good girl, Alice, your celebration money. Mom will save it for your living expenses." Finally, Alice agreed to put on makeup and a beautiful dress to appear. As for me, I quietly placed my phone in a hidden corner and started a live stream. In the restaurant's banquet hall, Alice politely responded to the compliments from relatives, her face rosy, looking confident and joyful. But in my live stream, the comment section was filled with rapidly scrolling messages, like knives cutting through the atmosphere that had been full of joy. This younger sister is so thick-skinned, cheating and lying, yet she acts so innocent. But the biggest problem is her parents. Don't they notice anything? Their daughter getting 680 points is cheating, and the acceptance letter is fake. The phrase, acceptance letter is fake, was spammed repeatedly, causing guests to start whispering. Someone worriedly turned to my parents and asked, "What's this? Is it a live stream? Why is everyone talking about the acceptance letter?" Alice finally realized something was wrong. She whirled around, and when she clearly saw the content on the screen, she staggered, almost falling. Large beads of sweat ran down her pale face. She pointed at the staff, yelling furiously, "Why don't you turn it off? This is slander, false accusation. How can my acceptance letter be fake? No, it's not." But Alice's voice quickly trembled as the hall doors were pushed open again. Several people in uniform walked in. The leader politely asked, "Is Alice on stage? Are you Alice? Please come to the station to make a statement." Everyone was still trying to understand what was happening when my mom jumped up. "What has my daughter done? You can't bully a little girl like her." The police officer maintained a very gentle demeanor and immediately explained, "Are you Alice's guardian? We have investigated, and your daughter's acceptance letter was bought online. Forging a university acceptance letter involves the crime of forging official seals and documents. We have already apprehended the person who sold the fake documents. Now, please have your daughter come to the station to assist with the investigation." These words weren't loud, but the entire hall held its breath, listening. Every word reached everyone's ears. Some people, still unclear, asked, "Acceptance letters can also be bought online? How is that possible?" "Yes, they can. I'm the one who found Alice's transaction history and then reported it to the police." Some kind-hearted people, not wanting to witness a family tragedy, quietly left the party, but many others began to clamor. "Forging an acceptance letter to scam our gift money? How shameless! Give us our money back. Mr. Jiang, don't you know your own daughter? And you let her go out and make such a fool of herself." Some even nosily approached my dad, taunting, "Mr. Jiang, your daughter is really talented. She tricked all of us. Teach me how to live stream and get thousands of viewers like that someday." It was truly a chaotic scene. Being mocked like that, my dad's face turned ashen, his teeth clenched, unable to utter a word. Sitting next to him, Mrs. Liu also smiled faintly. "I've suspected for a long time, Mr. Jiang. How can your youngest daughter, who doesn't even know the most basic theorems, score 140 points in math? It seems not only is your work problematic, but you've also failed as a father." I had anticipated that my dad wouldn't be able to handle this situation. He was a person who valued face more than life itself. This time, he had boldly boasted that his daughter got into a prestigious university, only for it to turn out the acceptance letter was fake. This was enough for him to be socially annihilated 100 times over. Indeed, under everyone's gaze, he leaned back, closed his eyes tightly, pretending to faint as if to say, "I don't see, I don't hear, I don't know anything." Alice, in a panic, hid behind my mom, her voice trembling. "Officer, I won't have to go to jail, will I? I didn't do anything to harm heaven and earth. I only deceived my parents, I didn't deceive anyone else. I'm sorry. Can my mom write a letter of forgiveness? If she writes a letter, I won't have to go with you, right?" But my mom no longer wanted to protect her. 2 sharp slaps echoed in the hall. My mom must have been furious, standing in front of everyone and shouting at her most beloved daughter, "Do you have any conscience left? When you were little, you were weak, so I had to heartlessly leave your sister in the countryside to take care of grandma, while I stayed here and doted on you. All these years, your sister had nothing, but you had everything. Your sister had 1, you had 2. I poured my heart and soul into you, and this is how you repay me? Get out. From now on, I have no daughter like you." Alice's eyes were red, her cheeks swollen. She sobbed, covering her face as if she was deeply wronged. "Why did I do this? Wasn't it all for you, Mom? Tell me the truth, if you hadn't gotten pregnant with me, you would have kicked Dad out long ago to be free, right? Mom, do you know, every time you say that, my heart aches so much. I just didn't want to disappoint you. Is doing that also wrong? What did I do wrong?" I couldn't help but freeze. For so many years, my parents had argued, been angry, and engaged in cold wars, but in the end, they never divorced. I once heard Mom complain, "That year, if I had been more decisive, I would have divorced. I was young then, I could have found someone else. But unfortunately, I got pregnant with Alice, so I had to endure it for her sake my whole life." At that time, I only thought Mom was praising her youngest daughter, her precious darling. But it turned out, in her eyes, Alice was the reason she decided not to divorce. To prove that this decision was right, she needed to love Alice wholeheartedly, and she needed Alice to be brilliant and outstanding. Alice's desk mate said she cheated because she was afraid of upsetting her mom. It turned out that truly was her reason. But how ridiculous. An adult made her own decision. Why did she dump all the consequences on an unborn child? For my child, I didn't divorce. That was just a weak and irresponsible excuse. Alice choked up as if she was suffering an indescribable pain. But on the other side, my mom seemed not to hear a word. She just jumped up, hastily searching for something in the crowd. She stood amidst the crowd, calling my name with affectionate urgency. "Clara, Clara, come here and help Mom up. Mom can't stand anymore." The moment our eyes met, she tried to put on a concerned expression for me, but perhaps because she had never done it before, it looked very awkward. I took a step back. She seemed to notice my resistance, her voice becoming even more mournful. "Clara, before, I only doted on your sister and neglected you. That was Mom's fault. From now on, Mom will definitely compensate you twice over. I'll give you everything best." At this very moment, she must have been feeling lucky that she had 2 children. Ruin one, but there's still another. I slowly retreated, step by step, an indescribable emotion welling up inside me. It wasn't anger, nor was it disappointment, but just a sense of relief, like being set free. The moment I was about to turn my back and leave, I looked at her one last time deeply. 10 years ago, how desperately I had longed for those words from her mouth. "Clara, come to Mom." It turned out my love for her also had an expiration date. I walked out of the hotel and got into the taxi that had been waiting for a long time, heading straight to the airport. I would go to a strange city and start building my new life. At 25 years old, I could finally accept the truth that my mother did not love me.